Hi, this is Rishabh Rajan for Ask.Audio reviewing the Roland Boutique SH01A. The SH01A is the latest in now a long line of products for Roland under the boutique category. The synth is based on the famous SH101 from the 80s. It was originally marketed as a battery-powered bass synth. You could also purchase the optional hand grip that converted it into a keytar for live performers. Of course, in the boutique version, you get the standard module with the optional keyboard with mini keys. Let's take a look at the synth. So here we have the SH01A attached to the keyboard module with audio going into a DAW via the USB connection. Let's check out some of the presets. I can tap menu and tap 1 here to access the presets menu. So this is bank 1 preset 8. I can scroll through the different banks like this. There are 8 in total. And within any bank, I can load a preset by tapping a number here. So we get a total of 64 presets. That was bank 1 preset 1. I can scroll to another bank and tap to load another preset. Let's try another one. Now this is just a single oscillator, but we are hearing multiple tones because of the chord feature they have added. Let's check out another bank preset. This is bank 6, preset 5. So as you can hear, we do have polyphony unlike the original SH101. Here, just like the other boutique synths, you get a maximum of 4 voice polyphony. So if I play, here when I add that 5th note, the oldest voice gets stolen. Let's check out another preset. Bank 7, preset 7. You can transpose the keyboard with this lever. This is the low register, mid register, and high register. Just like the other boutique synths, you get 2 touch strips here. This one is for pitch bend, and then this one is a mod wheel. These can also be accessed via MIDI. Last bank, preset 4. Preset 3 is a nice kick drum. Another helpful feature is under menu. This option 8 switches the synth to manual mode. So what you're hearing is what every parameter on the synth is set to. Now I've already set all the sliders to a default position. So in manual mode, we should hear a basic pulse tone. As you can hear and see, it's a perfect square tone. Let's try the lower register. How about the higher end? There's a range control for the oscillator, so we can set that to a higher or lower register. Let's try the pulse width slider. Right now it's set to manual, so I can change it manually. It can also be modulated with the LFO or the envelope. It doesn't completely cut off the sound, so you can get this nice, thin pulse tone. I'll bring down the pulse in the source mix and up the sawtooth. Looks and sounds very clean. Lastly, the source mixer also has a sub-oscillator, which is also a pulse. It can be set to an octave below, where it's a square, or even 2 octaves below, which is still a square. Then you have the switch for 2 octaves below with this narrow pulse shape. Now we can hear all of them mixed together to get this nice full tone. There's also a noise generator. Let's hear the noise by itself. It's a bit filtered, like the original. But if you go into this menu, you can change the noise a little. I'll tap number 4 here and tap 1 here. Now we can switch from the original SH101 noise to a fuller white noise. I kind of like the filtered version, so let's leave it at that. Let's mix this noise in with the other sources. Cool. Now let's check out the all-important filter section. It's a 24 dB per octave 4-pole filter. This is the cutoff frequency. Let's bring in some resonance. I can crank up the resonance to a maximum and we get that filter self-oscillation effect. In fact, I can bring the level of all the sources down and we get this pure sine tone directly from the filter. There's a keyboard tracking slider, so let's set that to max. So now we can play the filter with the keyboard. You can also tune it by bringing in an oscillator from the source and match the pitch by ear. As you can see, it can be awfully hard to fine-tune parameters with these small sliders, but you can just use an external MIDI controller instead. Alright, let's now take a look at some of the modulation options on the synth. You can modulate the pitch of the oscillator with the LFO here. This is the LFO rate. I can also assign this to the bender, so I can control the modulation with the pitch bend slider. So if it's down, the pitch bend is disabled. But if we crank this up, now the pitch bend strip works. Same for the filter cutoff here, but let's try this LFO mod amount. So now the LFO modulation can be controlled by the mod strip. If this amount is down, the mod touch strip stops working. Alright, let's explore the LFO more. We looked at the rate and modulation depth for pitch modulation. There's a dial for changing the shape of the LFO. This is the ramp up shape, ramp down, triangle, square, sample and hold style random modulation. And lastly, there's noise as the modulation source. So you can get some aggressive tones with this, but a subtle amount of this can sound pretty nice as well. Now the LFO range is not very wide here. It doesn't really go into the audio range. But we can change that. In the menu, I'll tap 4 here, scroll to LFO. Here we have the original, but that can also be changed to advanced. And now the LFO will go into audio rate. So we can create some exponential FM tones with this. Same thing can be done to the filter. So if I increase this mod slider, the LFO will now modulate the filter frequency. So now we have filter FM. Let's add some portamento. Switch it to auto, so it kicks in only when I play legato, or always on, where it's always on. Cool. Let's talk about the envelope now. Right now, the envelope is not being used for the amp. It's in gate mode. I can switch it to engage the envelope. Now the ADSR is controlling the amplitude of the sound. Now it can be helpful to leave this in gate mode and then use the envelope to modulate the filter frequency. I can also have both on, so the ADSR is controlling the filter frequency as well as amp. There's a trigger option for the VCA. I can set it to the LFO. I'll slow it down, so every time the LFO rises, you get a trigger on the VCA. Here you get a master tuning dial. This goes up to an octave. Yes, that's 1 octave. And down 1 octave too. There are CV and gate outs, and it can receive external clock input. Again, in the menu, you can set the clock source. Here you can set it to auto, internal, and even the LFO as a clock source. Now the reason there is a clock in is because there is a sequencer and an arpeggiator. Let's look at the arpeggiator first. They're very simple modes: down, and up. Let's try down. So now when I play a chord, the notes get arpeggiated. Since the LFO is controlling the clock, I can change the speed with the LFO rate slider. I'll set the clock back to internal. You can change the internal clock rate here. the tempo dial. You can also set sync values. I'll hold down these two buttons and now we have 16th, 8th, quarter, etc. There's a hold switch here for hands-free operation. I can now switch to those musical subdivision rates. There are triplet options here as well. Cool, so that's the arpeggiator. Next, let's check out the sequencer. It's quite straightforward. You can hit the load button and play notes in for the sequencer. I can tap here to add a rest. I can also set up a legato with this switch. And now hit 2 to play the sequence. There are sequencer presets available, so just like the regular presets, we have pattern presets with banks and specific presets. So right now we're on pattern bank 1 and pattern 1. Let's try pattern 5. I'll have to get out of this mode and hit play. Let's try a different pattern. Now that's the arpeggiator. I need to go into the menu and now I can change the pattern. Here we go. Let's try a few different ones. I like that one. Bank 7 and Bank 8 are completely empty, so you can store your own patterns there. Now another interesting option in the system menu here is this CC Send. I'll turn this on. Now the synth can be used with a DAW. As you can see here, I've already set this up as an external instrument for audio and MIDI. So I have this on an instrument track in Logic here. The audio is coming in from the USB connection. I've set it as an input device in Logic. Now let's say I decided to record something. I'll hit the record button here. And on the synth, I'll change a preset. Now in Logic, you can see there's a program change message that went through. Let's look at what's inside this region. So here you can see the program change message, but you also see all these CC messages that define where each parameter of the synth is set at for that preset. So that can be pretty helpful. So that's the SH01A boutique synth from Roland. Hope you enjoyed this overview video. This is Rishabh Rajan for Ask Audio, and I'll see you in the next one.